He's the voiceover studio engineer of the Stars in Los Angeles, California, a Virginia Tech grad with a knowledge of recording studios unmatched in his field. He's a voice actor from Buffalo, New York, with 30 years experience in recording studios and behind the mic. He solves people's home voiceover studio problems in the blink of an eye. Together, there's no studio problem they can't solve, and they'll do it for you tonight. Welcome to East West Audio Body Shop. Now, live from a basement in Buffalo and an office in L.A., here are Dan Leonard and George Whittam.
In the modern Leonard in the East.
And I'm George Whittam in the West.
And together we are East West Audio Body Shop. Well, it's another Sunday. And of course, what else were you going to do tonight? You're here because you want to learn about home studios and stuff that's going on in the voiceover industry. And we've got a lot of that tonight because our big special guest is the big gun, Ed Victor, who's going to talk to us tonight about his forum on voiceover professionals on LinkedIn and all the controversy that he likes to stir up there. So stay tuned for that in about half an hour or so. Also, in our second quarter hour, we're going to have Cedering Fox and Stewart Wilson Turner, two well-known voice actors, and they're going to be here talking to us about That's Voiceover. What's that all about, George?
That's Voiceover. It's coming up on August 6th right. Set your time machines to August. It's coming up next week in October, on October 6th. And basically, it's a one-day event happening at the Pacific Design Center, and it's really open to anybody. I think it's more geared to people that are kicking the tires in voiceover or maybe have some experience but really want to go to the next level. And it's got an amazing panel of celebrity voice actors that are going to be there. So you'll get to hear a lot more about it later in the show when we have Cedering and Stewart on.
Fabulous. And they should be very interesting to listen to, so stay tuned for that. And we also have a couple of interesting conversations we want to have tonight. Also, if you have any questions, you can call us live at 818-473-9227. That's 818-47-EWABS. I'm not going to give you the number again. You're going to have to figure it out for yourself because that's what George did to me. So, anyway, but again, that number again is 818-47-EWABS. Figure it out. Okay. So last week I was at FAFCon and you were sitting out there in Santa Monica. What was your impressions of FAFCon, even though you only got an hour of it?
I know. I wish it just, what it felt like to me from an outsider looking in is that everybody was just, what people were saying was like very empowered. It seemed like everybody was empowered. Everybody was positive. There was a lot of good vibes. Hearing people say things like, grabbing all these nuggets, feeling like it was sort of like a group therapy session. All these things made it sound like, it was definitely a really positive experience for everybody that was there. I mean, we were only getting about 20 people out of the 100 people in attendance in our panel, but still, it seemed like it was a good cross-section, and really, I was quite impressed with what people had to say.
Yeah, well, it was a lot of fun. It's kind of hard to describe if you weren't there. If you were at the first FAFCon, or you of course were with us at the last FAFCon in Harrisburg last week, kind of hard to describe. It was just an all-round good time, and but we found that it was very, very nice to hang out with each other. Those of us in the voice biz just seem to have something in common, and it's good to share. Yeah. And there was a lot of sharing. It wasn't like, I would lead a conversation or a discussion on something. I might talk about a special subject, or Dan Friedman did, or, Phil Banks was there, and Bob Sauer led a lot, and Randy Kay. And these are all people you should know. They're all some of the top people in the business. I don't necessarily put myself, quite at their level, although I hope to be there one of these days. Yeah. But overall, it was a great, great time. And I guess the next one is March 23rd through the 25th in Ventura Beach, California, just up the road from you.
I know. I have absolutely no excuse to not be at this next one. None. So I not that I wanted to not be at this one, but it just didn't work out for me this time. So this one, I am going to have my finger hovering over the buy button when the tickets are going pre-sale. So
yeah. Well, and and I'm telling you, we put that show together last week with two cans and a string. It was It was.
Yeah, pretty much.
It was. I mean, this was. I actually have the actual switcher here. For those of you who are wondering, this is just a little ABC switcher here. That's how we switched cameras.
That thing's even cheesier looking than I thought it was.
Oh yeah,
I never saw it.
It's a little GE. It's with
something you'd pick up at Home Depot at the last second. One of those things.
Actually, I picked it up at Lowe's, but we won't get that. But
close.
Anyway. So there was a fascinating discussion this week on some of the forums that we'll get into a little bit later with Ed Victor about the peer-to-peer networks. Yeah. So get your brains rolled up for that one. But there was a question that was thrown to us this week, and there were a couple on the answering machine too. Mm-hmm. But this one started a bit of a discussion about compression, and we're not talking audio compression as far as volume is concerned. We're talking about digital compression.
Right.
And in a lot of people who do telephony or telephony, and some of us actually refer to it as that. If you do telephony many, many times, you're asked to record stuff and deliver it in, you're going to have to bring up that chart, in 8 kilohertz.
Let me grab that chart while you talk.
Yeah. It's 8 kilohertz mu-law. Actually, I found out it's called mu-law, believe it or not, and u-law. And then we found out, well, that's the same thing. And what it's doing is it's a much lower sampling rate, which makes you sound like you're on the telephone. I don't understand. If you already are on the telephone, aren't you already going to sound like you're on the telephone? But
right.
But there's a bunch of different ones on there. Oh, you've got the chart there, actually.
There it is.
I don't see the chart. Oh, there's the chart right there. So if we look at this chart is, you can see the formats there. It's called S16, and then there's, I can't even see it that clearly. Maybe you can see it clearly. Well, then we've got
law, U-law, or S16, then we have U-law.
Right.
Then we have U8. And so far, the only one I've heard of these out of is U or mu-law.
Right.
And then add PCM I've heard of, and I've never heard of Speaks, those two Speaks ones.
I've never heard of them, and I've never been asked. Right. So why don't you explain a little bit what they're talking about when it's, you don't have to go into the actual explanation of what U-law is specifically, but what are we talking about when it's actual digital compression?
Well, an MP3 compression is just one particular algorithm. It's just one way that you could actually encode audio. So, it can be done in many different ways. And over the years, different companies have come up with different techniques. And whatever the codec that was developed by the telephony industry, or whatever system that you're using to produce your automated phone system, that's the codec that, your client is going to request you to use. So these systems have adopted certain codecs over the years, and I think the idea is that they want the audio file to be as small as possible, so it takes up as little memory as possible, because keep in mind, when these things were developed 10, 15 years ago, memory was really expensive. Yeah. And, RAM and storage space was all very, very expensive. And I think most of these phone systems didn't have like a computer with a hard drive. They just had a chip with all the audio on it. So it was all about squeezing down the audio into the smallest file format possible. So they were figuring out different ways to do that. But, keep in mind that the result was it was going to be heard over a phone. So, telephones have like maybe 100 hertz to 6,000 hertz, frequency range.
Very, very narrow.
Yeah. You don't need the full fidelity, high fidelity bandwidth of a CD audio going out there. So they came up with these codecs, and now we just have to play with them and make sure that, when we send out the file to your IVR or telephony client, they're getting the file format they need, so they don't have to then do all the homework and do the research and figure things out on their end. So you're left having to do a lot more post than you probably ever had to before now.
Well, I've done it a few times, and I guess the next question that comes up is, what software packages do that? And when you do the research, you find out there's some pretty interesting ones out there. When I used to do this, I started with a guy about, he had this little company in North Carolina, but he wanted me to do his phone answering machine, and he says, "Can you do this in 8 8U-Law. I'm like,
Right.
what the heck
8
is
U-Law?
8U-Law? And so at the time I keep running, I keep a PC handy just in case.
Right.
And on there I ran, what's it called? Magic's Audio Lab. Magic's Audio Lab actually converted things into U-Law.
Yeah.
And I got up the format that he wanted, sent it off. Boy, talk about zipping through an email real fast.
Mm-hmm.
And son of a gun, it worked. And so you've got to find some of these programs. Now, I imagine there are, and I've done a little bit of research. There are Mac converter programs, and this person that called us on our Google phone number, which by the way is 818-473-9227. If you have a question, and they asked, well, how do you get it done? How do you do this?
Mm-hmm.
And most good packages will do this. I've been looking in Audition and in I know Twisted Wave does it, and Audacity has the ability to do that, but you really gotta search.
Right.
It's not easy to do. You've got to be.
SoundForge, I think, is a good. If you like the SoundForge editor, I'm pretty sure that can save in just about any file format you can think of, including U-Law.
Yeah. Now, why do they call it? What is that little tiny U thing that's in there, though? I don't quite get that.
It's a Greek. It's the Greek symbol mu, right?
Right.
And why do they use that? Beats me, man.
Yeah.
Just like why is an MPEG called MPEG? Motion peg. I mean, what does that mean? It's these guys. Like it's like the people that name medications. Like they come up with these names, right?
Yeah. Anytime I see a Greek alphabet, all I think about is souvlaki. So anyway, so that's the deal with U-Law and U-Law. Look into when you're saving your file or exporting your file. It will give you all sorts of options of what to save it in.
Here's like I have a window open with Twisted Wave. Here's an example of how many settings you have to choose from in Twisted Wave alone. AIFF, Wave, all sorts of MPEG-4 compression settings, MP3. So you have a lot of options even in this relatively basic software. And I think Audacity. Audacity, I think I'm not sure about Audacity, but I know Audition can do it.
Yeah, I know Audition can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And there are specific converter programs. And how do you find them? You type in audio compression converters for Mac or for PC or whatever, and they just appear. Again, it's the miracle of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
All you got to do is ask. This week my wife was like making a honey cake and it crumbled. And she's like, we've got a party. What do we do with the honey cake? I'm like, there's got to be a recipe for crumbled honey cake. So type in recipe for crumbled honey cake. We made these balls. She mixed chocolate, melted chocolate with them and put coconut on them. And they were fabulous. And people were like, wow, these are like these Italian cookies I used to have. I'm like, yes, it's a special recipe we found.
Right.
So it's just look it up in the internet. It's right there, really. Just you don't have to try too hard.
I think there may be one other trick when I've had clients tell me they have to do this kind of work. Occasionally, when the file gets compressed down, it sounds very sibilant. Have you ever noticed that?
Very much so. Yeah.
So what do you do? I mean, I've recommended like using a high, what's called a low pass filter or a high cut filter.
Right.
Basically an EQ to just remove everything above about 4,000 hertz or so. Have you ever tried a trick like that? Because
I haven't really done a lot of telephony in a lot of years.
Yeah.
Sometimes people say, can you put your voice on my answering machine? I'm like, sure, give me the number.
Right.
I actually had a session. It was like it was for some beauty parlor in Manhattan.
Right.
Don't ask me where these things come from. And there's like, well, we're going to do the session Monday at 2:00. And I'm like, and you want me to talk on the phone, right? Like, yes, that's what I'm like. Okay. Generally, just using the phone, if you can call into an answering machine to do that. But if you're doing lots and lots and lots and lots of files, for every, voicemail, Dan Leonard isn't available, that sort of thing.
Right.
And there's lots of that. So,
Right.
and I do know people that do a lot of this type of work.
Sure.
Well, let's move away from there. And if you have any questions on that, again, first off, you can write to us, and our email address is ewebshop@gmail.com. If you have a question about that sort of technological thing, we're happy to talk to you about it. Or if you have a problem you want to ask us on the air, and we'll try and take care of it, the number in New Jersey is 818-473-9227 or 818-47-EWABS. Anyway, we've got Cedering Fox and Stewart Wilson Turner coming up right after this break, so stay right here at East West Audio Body Shop. World of voiceover, whether you've got years of experience or you're
El Dorado Recording Services.
Randy Thomas.
And we're back here on East West Audio Body Shop. And again, the number, if you got a question, maybe you want to call in. If you got a question for one of our guests tonight, the number is 818-473-9227. And the number in Manitoba is the same.
Just to refresh your memory, the number is a voicemail box.
Yes.
That particular number is a voicemail box. So
right.
You can leave voicemail messages there, and we'll get back to them and play them on the air. So
that's right.
That's what the number's for.
That's what the number's for. Okay. Anyway, we have a couple of special guests, and George, why don't you introduce them?
Okay. Well, we on the phone, hanging on here, we've got Cedering Fox and Stewart Wilson Turner, and they are here to talk about That's Voiceover. Stewart is one of the producers of the event, and Cedering is one of the panelists who's been there before. And without further ado, I'll start with Stewart Wilson Turner. Hey, Stu.
Hey, George.
How are you?
How you doing?
Excellent. How are you?
Doing very well, thanks.
Thanks for being here for us tonight.
My pleasure.
We just wanted to find out more about That's Voiceover. We know it's coming up real soon. I'm assuming we've got some spaces available to still sign up and come to the event.
We don't have many tickets left, though. Last report from Rudy is that we were getting close to full. So,
Good.
if you're interested in coming down this Thursday, make sure to get online and get your ticket because I'm pretty sure it's going to be sold out very soon.
That's excellent. Well, I know I'm going to be there. I'll be there along with Whisper Room. Whisper Room is one of the sponsors, and I'll be there to help them with their booth, assembling the thing, disassembling it, and I'll just be there to hang out, answer questions, tell you a little bit about what I do, and I'll also have a recording set up there as well for some of our key actors that need to get spots cut off, in a hurry during the show. So I'll be there the whole time hanging out, and who else is going to be there but none other than Cedering. Hi, Cedering.
Hey, guys. I have been lucky enough to participate in That's Voiceover in the past, and Ms. Joan Baker, who put together Secrets of Voiceover Success, which I think has gone into its 4th printing, it's an extraordinary book. This is an extraordinary team, Joan Baker and Rudy Gaskins. Besides being absolutely brilliant and talented, they are two of the nicest and most attractive people I've ever had the privilege of knowing. Wouldn't you have to agree with me, Stewart?
Yes, no doubt about it. Just being associated with them makes me look good. I love it.
I know, they're just amazing. And these events, I have never in my life seen so many happy people. The show that we did in New York last September at the New York Times building was jam-packed. And I would be absolutely shocked if we don't sell out the Pacific Design Center on Thursday night or Thursday day, actually. It's a whole day. There's so much bang for your buck. If you're at all interested in this field, if you're anybody who uses your voice, you don't have to even be interested in voiceover. You just have to be somebody who has to get on the phone and talk for a living. You have to be a manager, a human resources person who has to really think about how you present yourself. You will learn so much from this incredible panel of top voiceover people, casting directors, people who have been producers. I mean, people who think about words and communication and the voice, agents. It is just fascinating because most people, people go to the gym and work out, but people don't really think about the voice and its place and how we sell ourselves. And what do we got? We got the way we look, what we're wearing, do you got that iPad, and then how you speak. And what we've all sort of identified as professional voice people are tools that are really teachable to help you learn, to help anybody learn how to use their voice more effectively. And that's what this thing has exploded into. From Joan creating this book, she and Rudy have taken this thing and just brought it into a level that is so high. So you're hearing from all the voiceover people who are profiled in the book. All the proceeds are benefiting Alzheimer's, which is a pretty touching story, and I'll let Joan tell that to you when you're in the audience, everybody. But it's a great group of people. We've all gotten so much closer doing this and sharing with the audiences who come has been a real privilege and an honor. And it's really made a difference in my life. I love being part of this. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
One of the things that I find wonderful about the event as well is that there's a real reality to what's going on. One of the hardest things about voiceover these days is you hear stories from all kinds of people about how easy it is and how quickly you can get in. And the great thing about this event is that it gives you the reality. I mean, it's very uplifting. It shows people how wonderful voiceover is and how using your voice, whether it's a hobby or for a living, can just be a wonderful part of your life. But it also, the thing I like about it the most is that it really lets people know that, hey, this is a serious business. With the people we have on stage, people like Cedering and Bill Ratner and Bo Weaver and Joan Baker, people who are successful in this business, there's also the reality of how much work it took for them to achieve the level that they're at. And I think that that's something that is just as important to today's voice artists as anything else, because with all the people wanting to get into this, it's nice to hear people who understand what the business is about and present the reality of the business behind it, as opposed to, go in and just make money with your voice.
Yeah,
which is what a lot of people do.
You know the old joke, guys. How do I get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice.
That's right.
Yeah,
Really.
It's very, very serious.
Well, we've got
for all the
a
people
few questions floating in, you guys.
Okay.
And I know
Yeah.
Dan, I want to start with Dan. Dan's got some, and then we've got a few in the chat room too. So Dan, go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you. Cedering and Stewart, it's wonderful to have you with us this evening here on East West Audio Body Shop. Now, there's a lot of voice conferences that go on out there, and they're all formatted a little bit differently. What's essentially the format of That's Voiceover? What can people expect when they show up to see all you wonderful people?
you want to take that?
Sure. Well, what's unique about That's Voiceover that's different than a lot of other conferences is, one, we have two opportunities for actors to work that are associated with the conference. There's the Whisper Room Audition Spotlight, in which 3 lucky people are going to be chosen to audition in front of panelists live on stage. And the person who actually is chosen from the finalists will actually be doing a promo for CBS Las Vegas for one of their stations. So it's actually a paid job. And then also one of our other sponsors, Audible.com, we are auditioning, I think, 30 people that they're going to pick a man and a woman from to actually do some of their audiobooks. So one of the great things about this conference is not only the information that you get, but there are actually going to be opportunities for 3 people to get a job, per se. And not to mention that one of the finalists from the Audition Spotlight will also become will get representation from TGMD. Vanessa Gilbert will be there, one of the agents, and they'll be represented by TGMD.
And they're my agents, and they were Don LaFontaine's agents, and you can't get any better than them.
Exactly.
So that
exactly.
Means incredible. I mean, that's an incredible opportunity. People call me all the time. How do I get my reel heard? It is hard. It's really, really hard. I can't tell you how many offices that I've been in where the mail comes in and the stuff goes right in the garbage.
Yeah.
So it's an incredible opportunity. I think also it's very interesting because there is a whole. It's really it's a huge program. It's an all-day program starting around lunchtime.
Yeah.
And,
what is do you know generally what the agenda, like, just not
specifically
the general agenda?
There's a full audiobook narration seminar at 1:15, which is sponsored by ACX, a division of Audible.com.
Oh, yes.
And every audiobook that you buy on Amazon, every audiobook that you buy anywhere, Barnes & Noble, any site that you go to, it's all, anything that you download on YouTube is actually, you have to go through Audible.com to find that stuff. It's all been, Audible.com is the aggregator. So they are very, very powerful, and they are the audio industry, essentially. And they have put together this panel. It's followed by a 3:15 choosing the right mic for your voice, which is actually very, very interesting, because I remember being completely clueless when I, had to put my studio together, which was years ago. And so finally I just, asked all the techies that I was working with at ABC and NBC and different places, and they helped me because I was just talent. I wasn't a techie. Well, today you better be a techie. And George, you help everybody become a techie. I mean, that's, the industry is changing so quickly, and with guidance from people like you or Neumann and Sennheiser, who are presenting this, I mean, those are the 2 top microphone companies. So that's happening at 3:15. Then there's some food. I think Bristol Farms is doing a whole little beautiful thing, and then the main program begins at 6 with a theater reception followed by the Business of Voiceover panel, and that's the Q&A that I'm involved with, a bunch of top voiceover people, buyers, agents, creators of these spots, and executives. So that's where, a whole group of interesting people, like Jeffrey Weinstock, VP and Creative Director for ABC Family, who was at the New York Times seminar in New York. Bruce Smith, who's Director of Voiceover Talent for Disney Animation. Just terrific group of people. A follow-up panel, Voiceover as Craft and Career, with Nancy Wolfson leading that, and After President, Gabrielle Cartieres. And then all the voice talents. I guess that's the one that I'm actually in, with Bill Ratner, whom you've heard, just Dave Fennoy, voice of Hulu, George Del Hoyo. I mean, these are just everybody, Joe Cipriano. I mean, it's the voices of America. It's pretty exciting. And Carol Kimball, major casting director, it's chock full. It's so much going on. And then after that, big party, book signing, etc. And then all the auditions.
And then there's vendors there that you can walk around and see their booths, and you'll be able to see me there and talk to me, and Whisper Room and Neumann, and I showed some of the vendors there. So it's definitely worth.
Actually, if I can also add in that Whisper Room that George is actually going to be. Whisper Room has donated an actual Whisper Room that people will be able to actually go in and check out, and you're going to have them record as well. Is that right, George?
Well, actually, it'll be available to the panelists who are on site there that need to get a session off. But if they're not in the booth and the booth's open for a few minutes, anybody's welcome to pop in there, see the booth. You never know. We could record a quick little demo of what you could sound like in that booth, and I'm pretty sure we'll have a Neumann or a Sennheiser mic in there too. So it'll be a fun place to give things a try.
Right.
I'm so impressed with the work that is the planning that has gone into this. It's just months and months and months of planning, and I think it's going to be an unforgettable day. This is a kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity to be part of something. So I'm looking forward to meeting all the people who are there. Yeah,
me too. Well, I really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your Sunday evening to say hello and tell us more about it. And it's been fun to hear from you guys. And Cedering, I haven't seen you in a while, but thank you. And Stewart, I'll see you guys both on Wednesday, Thursday morning. And thanks
Absolutely.
Again.
We're looking forward to everybody coming down. It's going to be an incredible evening, and we look forward to seeing everybody there.
And the other, it's also just great being in the Pacific Design Center. It's one of the most beautiful buildings in West Hollywood, and in all of LA.
I know.
But just to be in there, you just kind of walk a little bit taller. So
yeah, I agree.
I think it's going to be amazing. And the only problem with being a voiceover announcer these days is we're all in our home studios that George sets up so brilliantly, but we never get to see each other. And everybody on this panel, we all love each other so much. So it's going to be a blast to just get out of the house. Exactly. I'm excited.
Thanks, you guys. Thank you so much. I'll let you go, and I really appreciate it. I can't wait to see you guys there.
Okay.
You got it. See you there, Cedering.
Bye, gentlemen. Thanks. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thanks for being on the show tonight. Now this is going on in Vegas, and I was talking, or it's in Vegas, right?
No. This is right here in Los Angeles.
It's in Los Angeles.
Design Center is.
That's right. That's right. I know where that is. Downtown
it's right
LA,
near. It's basically at Melrose, and a little bit past La Cienega, a little east or west of La Cienega. So right in the heart of town there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I was talking with our very good friend Dave Quavassier today, and that promo for that Vegas CBS affiliate is Dave's affiliate. And I know Dave's going to be there, and he'll be presenting the I believe the winner with the opportunity to do that. So
how cool is that? I love how everybody is. It's such a family kind of thing. Everything dovetails together in so many different ways. It
really does. Well, speaking of family, we got a big member of our family coming up next in our next segment here at East West Audio Body Shop. We've got the big gun, Ed Victor, will be joining us and talking about his forum and all the controversial stuff that he's brought to the industry. Not that he's controversial himself, but we'll talk about that in just a couple of minutes. So stay tuned right here on East West Audio Body Shop. We'll be right back after this.
calling in.
This is Alex Verdi.
Hi, this is Bill Ratner in Los Angeles.
Hi, this is Scott Rummel here in Yorba Linda, California.
Hi, my name is Rick Wasserman.
Hi, this is Tom Kane.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Marshall.
Hi, my name is Zurich.
Hi, I'm Mary McKittrick.
Hi, I'm Peter McHugh.
I was turned on to George by none other than Don LaFontaine, who always swore by his health.
George is absolutely awesome.
ISDN, Source Connect, Phone Patch, FTP, you name it, George has set it up.
It's really the best thing I've ever done for myself. I feel free, safe, fearless, like anything is possible in here.
Unless you like to look for opportunities to waste time, call George.
And he did all of that, long distance over the phone and the internet.
I'm very happy with George, and I cherish
I've got my travel kit, I got my Source Connect, I've got it all going on, thanks to you.
Thanks, George. You make it easy.
El Dorado Recording Services.
Randy.
And we're back here on East West Audio Body Shop, and thanks again to Cedering Fox and Stuart Wilson Turner talking to us about That's Voiceover. But when it comes to voiceover, there's the big gun. And our special guest tonight is the one and only Ed Victor. Ed, welcome to East West Audio Body Shop.
Hey, Dan. Hey, George. Good to be here. How you guys doing?
Excellent. We're doing just fabulous tonight. You know, now I have to ask you, of all the branding names, why the Big Gun? Where'd that come from?
Here we go. Okay.
All right. I got all night here.
There, let me start with this. There you go. I walk around with that thing. Why the Big Gun? Well, when the name The Big Gun was developed in collaboration with a former manager of mine, and we were trying to come up with, I guess, a concept that was kind of universal but unique. And I had 25 years of advertising experience under my belt, being a creative director at a lot of different ad agencies. And I also have been doing voice work now for going on 30 years. So her team kind of came up with this idea of, and it actually was a sub-theme called The Big Gun, and we kind of took the Big Gun idea and made it, oh, there I am. We kind of took the Big Gun idea and kind of made it our main theme, and it just kind of took off. And at first, I got to be honest with you, I was a little apprehensive about doing the Big Gun because I thought it was a little pompous, a little out there, but if you're a little bit, but if you're going to go
flaunt it, you
got it. You got one chance, and if you're going to go for it, you've got to go for it big. So we took the idea and ran with it. I actually did end up coming out to Hollywood and finding a actual movie poster design company to take it from there. And the idea was to kind of knock off the 1972 Dirty Harry movie poster. So I went out there for a photo shoot, and the actual gun I'm holding is from the movie. And of course, it was they took that idea, they took that and put it together with a Sennheiser shotgun mic, and there you go.
It's a brilliant, when you see it, it's like, of course, it's so obvious, it's so perfect.
Yeah, it's, and I got to be honest with you, I was really kind of like a little apprehensive, and I got an email from Don LaFontaine, and he's a very open and gregarious guy, and just he was a hell of a nice guy, and he wrote me and said, I wish I would have thought of that. So to me, that was kind of his blessing. So, because he's the big guy, to me, in the business, he's it. So for him to kind of give me his blessing on that, I thought, okay, well, if he thinks it's okay, then I'm going to just continue with it. And I had literally asked, I was going to give that thing up and just move on with something else because, I thought I was a little sick of it, but everybody said, well, you crazy. It's a great piece. So that's it in a nutshell of how that came about. So I've kept it ever since.
Okay, great. All right. Well, Yeah. All right. Well, aside from your great voiceover prowess and all the years you've been in the business, you also have a great forum that you moderate, and that's probably one of the neat things about our business today. Is that we have these forums, and there's all sorts of groups. But on LinkedIn, you've got voiceover professionals, and you jump in there, and every week you've got your whack the hornet's nest question, which always seems to bring out, we won't say the worst in everybody. I mean, I certainly have jumped in there a few times, but sometimes it can people stick their hand into the hornet's nest and they can get stung.
Yeah,
but well, now, how did you get the idea to start doing that? I mean, obviously everybody was just doing it, but when did you get the idea to just, do the whack the hornet's nest thing?
Well, the group started, I think, 3 years ago. Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, I was sitting around waiting for some auditions. And I was on LinkedIn. I thought that was a good way to connect with people. And I saw a few other groups, and I thought, what, I can have a group. Well, why not? So I created this group, and I created a logo, and I put the group up on LinkedIn, and they accepted it. And I made a simple
they'll
statement.
take anybody, though.
Yeah, exactly. and the group started with 8 people, and I got to be totally honest with you guys. I was just bored, and the thing took off. And I thought, well, I'm going to get this thing going. So I started posing questions every week. And, it's interesting, some of the topics that we cover. And we started with 8 people. And I think as of today, we have 3,187 people.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, there's no advertising. It's just word of mouth. And that's what makes the group so cool.
Yep.
There are no agendas. It's just everybody kind of comes together and speaks their mind. And, we've had, I'd say in the last 2-3 years, we've had minimal problems. I mean, I had a couple rows that I had to handle, but for the most part, everybody's pretty professional about it. And it's just grown exponentially. I love that word.
Yeah, yes, it means so much. Now, this week, well, maybe it was last week, you started a thread that sort of took on a life of its own because you were performing an experiment. You wanted to, and I wanted to lead this into a discussion of the peer-to-peers and what you found out from it, where you took 30 auditions. I'm not sure which peer-to-peer you were working with on that. And you wanted to see what percentage of jobs you could get. Someone as talented as you and as experienced as you, if you're going to audition, you would think that that's the person that's going to get the most work. What did you experience?
Well, it's interesting you should say that because a lot of people think that the more experienced people who've been in the business are getting we're getting every single job that's being auditioned for. And
we wish.
Yeah, exactly. When I was in Los Angeles 2 weeks ago talking with another, I'll call him a 7-figure guy, and he's on those sites too, and he says, I can't get arrested. I go, yeah, I can't get arrested either. He goes, so it's not me? I go, it's not you, it ain't me. So, that just got me thinking, and I kind of put it in the back of my mind. And he said to me, he goes, people think that because we're, who we are, we're doing all this work and whatnot, that we're getting all the jobs and everybody else isn't getting any of them. And I'm like, yeah, that's not the way it works. So this wasn't even an actual discussion. I post a weekly discussion.
Right.
This was it was a morning. I opened my mailbox and there was 30 auditions, 15 from one, 15 from another. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to just knock these out and I'm going to see what's going to happen. It was just an experiment. And what happened. Whatever the result was exactly what I thought was going to be. I posted this 12 days ago. And as of today, I haven't gotten one gig off any of that stuff. It was both of the two main sites, and I try to. I don't name names and stuff, but use your imagination. There's I don't know how many sites are out there, 4 or 5 maybe, but they're the 2 top ones. Okay, because people in our group, the people that are involved in those sites are also members of the group, and I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus here, or name names or any of that stuff. So, and they're terrific. Honest to God, they are very, very terrific people. I've got no issue with them. It's just the the concept of the P2Ps, the pay to plays, or the peer to peer,
pay to play, whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is. A lot of people think that the more experienced talent's getting all the work because we've got incredible reels and all this other stuff. But I don't get anything. I get nothing. So I've been with those sites for many, many years, and I dropped out of all of them. And then I figured, well, it's like the Yellow Pages. You might have to be there. So I posted my demos again, and then the auditions started coming, and I started doing them, and I wasn't getting any of them. And that's just me. Again, it works differently for everybody. I know people out there like, I'm doing 1 of 20. I'm nailing every time. I've got long-term clients out of these sites. That's terrific, and that's fine. And again, between those two main sites, I can honestly tell you, about 2 years ago, I landed a pretty incredible job, and it was for Luxottica.
The eyeglass people.
Yeah, you got it, the eyeglass people. And the interesting thing about it was they didn't audition. I didn't audition for it.
Don't you love those?
They found my demo on the site and contacted me. So
that happens a lot on the peer-to-peers, and I've noticed that too. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners and family members out there experience the same thing. There's nothing more fun than getting an email from one of the peer-to-peers. It's like, I didn't audition for this.
Right.
They just find your demo, and that's what they want. And you would hope that that the site is working well that way, that if you're well positioned at the site and your demos are in the right order and people do a search, they're going to come up with you and your specific type of voice to do what they want done. And that's happened to me plenty of times. And again, the same here. I've gotten some fabulous clients out of that I've had, 5-6 years. And I've been with these sites, probably like you have since like 2003, 2004, when they first came online.
Exactly.
So the reaction was interesting, though.
Well, it's funny because you've got some really hardline people who, swear by the sites, which is fantastic. The sites are obviously working for them, and that's great. Then you've got the other folks that are like, it's a joke, it's a waste of money, and blah, blah, blah. And again, it's everybody's personal preferences. I can honestly tell you that just before this call, I went on both sites and I looked at one has rankings and one has the number of listens. Now, the one site I had done 1,611 auditions. 1,611 auditions. I only won 10. For a grand total, are you sitting down? You are.
I am sitting, actually.
Of $1,400. That's what I made. Okay? So do the math. It's just, and I'm like, this just is not worth my time. It's not worth doing. So, I stopped totally. And then I found myself using that time that I was spending on auditions doing my own marketing. And doing auditions from the agents I do have that, they're legitimate auditions. And, some of the agents I have, they have, I'm competing against 50 people, not 125,000 people for the same gig. So the odds for me are better. And, that is my direction. That's the way I choose to go. Again, nothing against the sites at all. And the experiment that I did was just off the cuff. And I actually stopped, and people have continued the comments. I stopped about 5 or 6 days ago. I said, I'm done with this. Let's move on.
Forums can take on a life of their own.
Yeah,
you have to be prepared for that.
and it has. So you just let it run its course.
Yeah,
and there you go.
Yeah. So now you said you were going to be taking a couple of weeks off from this. Of course, you've dropped out of this one. You're just sort of like sitting back and watching it happen. But are you going to take a couple of weeks and then come up with something really killer in a couple of weeks, or what?
You mean as far as a topic or as far as the sites themselves?
Well, as far as the topic goes, I mean, this one, I think it's sort of run its course, except
it's funny because this has definitely run its course. The thing with the group is every week people are actually looking forward to some sort of topic. And, when I say it's time to whack the hornet's nest, that actually came from DC Good. That was a colloquialism he coined, and I kind of just took it. And so, yeah. Otherwise, we're talking about, what's your favorite microphone, or which is fine, or what's your favorite color. There's really nothing to discuss. So I like to stimulate conversation. I think the last one was talking about agents, and we've had some really great discussions. And I think the next one, I won't tell you what it is, but I'm working on it now.
Oh, okay.
But I do get burned. It's hard to come up with a topic every week, as you guys know, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Very hard.
Well, yes.
That's why I let this guy do it, Dan.
And you
That's
don't
my
want to
job.
offend anybody. Yeah, but you don't want to offend anybody either. So you want to keep it interesting, that it's going to garner. Some of the topics have been just duds that people don't care. Others, whenever you're talking about the unions, it's through the roof.
Oh yeah, that's like communism versus capitalism.
That's napalm.
There you
go.
You got two irreconcilable narratives there that aren't simply don't jibe with each other. So anyway, but I love the introductions you do to these too. I mean, that's half the fun of starting the forum is like, well, what did Ed do this week that's so fascinating?
There you go. And I try to keep it topical, and it's like something always, if something in my day-to-day voice work is topical, or it happens to me, I'm like, God, if it's happened to me, it's got to be happening to other people. Let's whack the nest with it, right?
Absolutely.
Let me ask you something that just maybe this is obvious, or maybe it's not, but I have a lot of voiceover clients that are really successful, yet they choose to be completely, in the shadows. They really do not want to be associated. They don't like networking with voiceover actors. I've heard some tell me they don't like voiceover actors.
Well,
whatever that means. What was it for you that what's in it for you to be so socially involved? What do you get out of it? I mean, just other than camaraderie.
What a great question. What a wonderful question. It's interesting. What's in it for me? I give a lot of advice out there. Just even before today, I got a call from somebody in Texas or Kansas asking me questions, and I know a lot of the folks in this business who have really made a name for themselves are quite guarded and don't share a whole lot of information because they're looking behind their back that somebody's going to take their gig.
Yeah, I mean, I got the ultimate one, which one of my clients recently said, if you go to my website, there are no demos there. And if you notice there's no demos, and I said, why? And he said, because it's basically a master class for other voiceover actors.
Oh, well.
I was like, whoa. But yeah,
wow.
Exactly.
Wow. And, I guess it's all what you put in, you get. I think there's good karma. I do these web shows, the straight shooting web shows every week or two, when the spirit moves me. And, I'm giving a lot of information out there for free. And a lot of the voice coaches out there hate me because, they're not fans. I started writing a book, then I stopped writing the book, then I started writing a book again. And I thought, well, who am I? Am I some
You'll get there.
You know what I mean? I'm some self-anointed guy that, an expert. I've been doing this for a long, long time on both sides of the glass. And, getting back to your original question, what's in it for me? I just, I think that we have to mentor other folks, and I think it all comes back to us. I really do, and I think that's one thing that Don LaFontaine always instilled in other people. It's like we're here to help teach the people coming through the ranks. And a lot of people are so jaded that they're afraid that somebody is going to take their gig. And I'll tell you, I audition for things all the time, and I know who the voice is, who's already got it. And I'm talking in the promo world. Right. And it's a very, very competitive business. I hope I don't turn into one of those dudes, but you just never, I won't, trust me. But I do see a lot of that where people are quite incredibly reluctant to offer any advice whatsoever.
Some of us really get the paying it forward. What goes around comes around.
That's right.
However you like to karma, however you like to call it. I'm one of those people. That's why we're here. That's why Dan and I are here.
Exactly. There's a lot of people in that business and who feel the same way. And just really quickly, one of my I put my web shows out there. I got a call.
Feel free to plug them, by the way.
Yes.
Sorry.
Plug away, please.
Yeah, straight shooting with the big gun. They're all free on YouTube and iTunes and Vimeo and Facebook. So I've been putting this stuff out there for, God, I think it's been 2 years now. And my idea is I have a production background. So again, because I was in the creative field, I've always got to work. If I'm not doing 10 sessions or 25 auditions, I'm going out of my mind. So I developed the web shows. Now, the point I was trying to make about paying it forward, I got a call from the president of Oralex who saw one of the shows. He says, I love what you do. I think you're great. You're honest. And I want to sponsor you. I said, what? So he sent me a big old honking box of gear, of stuff.
Wow.
Hundreds of dollars worth of stuff. And then he said, I want you to try this stuff out. You can talk about it if you want. You don't have to. I really think what you're doing for the voice community is incredible. So I said, cool. So that's kind of the what happened there about the pay it forward. And then I'm on a little retainer thing with him. So it was unexpected, but it was totally beautiful.
That's great. Wow.
Yeah.
But those are the types of things we like to hear. Ed, it's been fabulous having you with us here on East West Audio Body Shop tonight. And, I've been looking forward to talking to you for a while about this.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you were able to join us tonight.
And when are you going to finish that book, man?
Yeah, when are you going to finish that?
I'm on chapter 14 right now.
Out of?
Yeah, right. That's the question.
I have no idea. I got asked to, write something for somebody else's book. And I said, yeah, no, I'm working on my own. But I have no idea. I don't know. I go back and forth with it. Who knows?
Sure. The more people ask about it, the more you'll keep writing it, probably.
Yeah, exactly. It's really not what I do. So,
sure.
I'm concentrating on the voice work 100%. Okay.
And there's plenty of it out there for all of us.
Exactly. There truly is.
All righty.
Thank you.
Ed, thanks for being with us tonight.
Oh, my pleasure, you guys. Sorry I took so long.
Take care, my friend.
Not a problem. Okay.
All right, guys. Take care.
All right. Good night. Well, we've got one more segment left here on East West Audio Body Shop, and it's time for, did you find any, George, some bad audio of the week?
Yes, we did find something here.
Oh, good. Well, we'll get to that in just a couple of minutes, so stay right here on East West Audio Body Shop. Back after this massage.
Resource Center 24/7. Hundreds, probably thousands of free how-to articles for voiceover success, ranging from home studio to voice acting to business. A free voiceover industry directory, calendar of industry events, resource links, a store, and much more. Bi-monthly webinars on all topics of voiceover, free subscriptions to newsletters, reports, announcements, daily news, and features at voiceoverextra.com.
All right, and we're back here at East West Audio Body Shop. We got bad audio of the week coming up in just a minute or four. And but if you want to avoid bad audio, you got to have the right equipment to do it. And that's why you need to go to our good friend Harlan Hogan's site, Voiceover Essentials, where you can get the Portabooth Bro 2. And the Harlan Hogan VO1A and all of the other cool stuff. He's got books in there. He's got the Mic Port Pro. So if you're looking to get that stuff, if you're looking to an easy place to get it, all you have to do is go over to voiceoveressentials.com, and they've got all that stuff there. So why don't you go on over there? George, have you ever used his site before?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've gone on there to see, what are some of the cool products that the voiceover industry is really interested in using? Because I figure if he's going to have it on his website, that must mean that somebody else wants to use it. Because Harlan's been dialed into the voiceover industry for a long time as, of course, a working voice actor himself. And so I've been on there just to find cool gadgets like I have like up on the screen right now. I've got the voiceover recording sign, which I can't believe I don't have one yet. I think this is going to be my gift to myself here.
I have mine. If you go to my camera, you
There
can
it
see
is.
mine back there. It is right back there in the corner of my messy office.
He's awesome because he comes up with creative products and gets them made. That's the thing. It's like I come up with ideas all the time. I've got ideas for this and that, but he somehow manages with his voiceover work schedule and everything else to still get these things made, get them proofed, and it just blows my mind. But he does it. He's quite amazing that way. But this website is one place to go to find a lot of helpful products in one place.
Yeah, I mean, again, the Portabooth Pro 2, the MicPort Pro, the VO1A, which we're recommending to everybody. If you're just starting out, great starter microphone. You can't really do much better than that.
No,
and
it is definitely my favorite sub $300 studio mic. If you've already got a MicPort Pro or an M-Box and you just want a mic that you can almost guarantee is going to work pretty nicely with your voice, it's a really good place to start. I'm not that disappointed with that one.
Yeah, neither have I. All righty. So go over to voiceoveressentials.com and you can find your stuff there.
Dan, would you tilt your camera down? You got that ginormous headroom thing going on again.
Let's
Awesome.
see. Let's see if that helps.
Let's see the shirt. I don't want to miss out on that shirt.
Hey, this is a Pierre Cardin. This is just an ordinary Hawaiian shirt this week. But
all right, let's find this.
We were talking. Yeah, we got to find bad audio of the week
right,
here.
Here we go.
What do we got here?
Let's see what we got. Let's get the intro going here.
Is this thing on?
And now it's time for another exciting episode of Bad Audio of the Week.
All right, let me preface this one by saying this is a really short one. This one's not so much about the bad audio of the bad recording quality of the voice. It's about what other things that you hear. So let me slide this thing in and you guys take a listen.
And bypass. So here's my room. I will let it play here for a second without any processing on it whatsoever. And that is the dog barking as well.
That's it. That's all I got to play. Now,
you just got to play.
This is a fellow who hired me to consult with him on his studio. And, this is sort of an example of, I don't know how to say it. He had the best intentions and he put a lot of work into this thing. I mean, this was a built from the ground up, concrete slab up studio. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to be involved with the project as much as he probably should have, consulted me. And I gave him the basics, but he still didn't understand the finer details of studio construction. And if you ask anybody like Mike Summer, who does a lot of studio design from the ground up, and myself, I've done a lot of them lately, the devil is really in the details. So it's like you can build it from the ground up. You can use double layers of drywall, and you can do all these things that seem obvious that you've seen other people do. But at the end of the day, after spending all that money, he still has a wall that the dog's barking or ceiling or something that the dog's bark goes right on through.
Must have missed something along the line there.
Yeah, and I when he asked me, is it easy to add better soundproofing in? And I'm like, no, that's the one thing you cannot add in later easily is more soundproofing. I mean, you can. Yes, there are ways to retrofit a room to add more soundproofing isolation, absolutely. But just to the idea of having to suggest these things to someone who's already put an incredible amount of time and expense into building something from the ground up, and to have that kind of an issue, it's kind of heartbreaking, I have to admit.
Yeah. And you want to know something? It's easier to get rid of the dogs. So,
are you saying? What are you suggesting?
Exactly. Well, I wouldn't do it with my dogs per se.
Right.
I like having my dogs around, and I'm sure he likes having his. But
Sure.
boy, you could hear that really clearly through there. It's like, whoa! Yeah. And he was the door closed and everything. And
as far as I understand, I mean, I said, send me a sample, so I can hear the way the studio sounds. Give me your best, recording. And the levels there admittedly were low because he hadn't set the levels yet, and I had normalized it just to bring them up for the show. So the dogs were even more. It exaggerated the dogs. It made them sound even louder than they really were. But still, I was trying to illustrate something, and that's just that, if you're really going to invest in a studio build out and really spend the money, and I haven't seen a ground up studio build that doesn't cost less than $20,000. Just make sure you invest a little bit of that time and money into the right consulting. And invest have them check in and kind of keep an eye on the entire build process from start to finish.
Yeah, design is everything. I mean, you've got to have an expert who knows what they're talking about when you're going to build something that specific.
Oh yeah,
and there are easier and cheaper ways to do it that actually some of them are more effective. A lot of it depends on where you are in your house. That can mitigate a lot of noise.
Yeah, of course.
Well. Yes. Now, of course, I don't hear my dogs barking or my wife playing the piano anymore down here because I just said, shut up! Just stops it. Usually that's pretty effective. Anyway.
That's cheap, right?
Yes. Well, as they say on Car Talk, you've wasted another perfectly good hour here. But then again, what else were you going to do tonight? We've got another great show coming up next week. And again, if you've got a question for us, if there's a topic you'd like us to discuss, the number here is 818-473-9227, 818-47-EWABS, or you can write us at ewabshop@gmail.com. We want your comments. We want your questions. We want your participation. This is your show. We're here for you. So get in touch with us. We'll be glad to get you on.
Absolutely. We've got one waiting in the wings that we will be featuring next week on the show already. So we've got our first taker, and we look forward to having multiple calls, and we'll take the best ones or the only ones that we get, and we'll make sure we get them on the air.
Well, we've been getting them actually lately. Yeah. So anyway, but it's been a great show tonight. We've got lots of people who joined us in the chat room tonight, and it's always fun to have you. It's always great when we have a guest on, especially someone like Ed, who's just one of us, and of course Cedering Fox and Stewart Wilson Turner joining us too, and they had a lot of interesting stuff to say, and I thank them for joining us here on East West Audio Body Shop. And that's going to do it for us this particular week, but we'll be back next Sunday night, 9 Eastern Time, 6 on the Pacific Coast. I'm Dan Leonard here in the East.
I'm George Woodham out here in the West.
And together we are East West Audio Body Shop. You have yourself a great week. We'll see you next Sunday night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.